Good morning, children, and welcome to our today's English lesson, that is non-finite verbs. So, students, verbs are of two kinds, that is finite verbs and non-finite verbs. So, finite verbs are the main verbs, the auxiliary verbs, and the modal auxiliary verbs. These modal auxiliary verbs and auxiliary verbs are also called as modals and helping verbs. Now, what are the types of non-finite verbs? Non-finite verbs are gerunds, infinitives, and participles. So, we have learnt that the two types of verbs are finite verbs and non-finite verbs, and non-finite verbs are of three kinds, that is gerunds, infinitives, and participles. So today, as our topic is non-finite verbs, let's learn about that in detail. So what do you mean by a finite verb and a non-finite verb? A finite verb is the main verb in a sentence and it makes a sentence complete. It changes its form according to the tense and subject, whereas a non-finite verb cannot stand alone in a sentence. It needs the help of a finite verb, a modal auxiliary, or a helping verb. And it does not change its form according to the tense and subject. So now let's understand what are these non-finite verbs, and if they do not act as verbs, then how do they act as? So non-finite verbs, as we have learnt, do not change according to person, number, or tense, and we have also learned that non-finite verbs are infinitives, gerunds, and participles. We also have understood that non-finite verbs do not function as a verb. So, they function as adverbs, they function as nouns, and they function as adjectives. So, summarizing the difference between a finite verb and a non-finite verb. Firstly, a finite verb acts as a verb, but where a non-finite verb does not act as a verb. The finite verb acts as a main verb of a sentence or a clause. On the other hand, a non-finite verb acts as nouns, adverbs, and adjectives. A finite verb indicates person, number, and tense, whereas a non-finite verb doesn't indicate person, number, and tense. So now let's first understand about the first category of non-finite verbs, that is gerunds. A gerund is a verb that ends in ing and is used as a verbal noun. So generally we add ing to the verbs to present the continuous tenses, either present continuous or past continuous. But when this ing form is added to a verb and it acts as a noun, then it's called as a gerund. Let's look at this example. Reading should be a daily habit. What should be a daily habit? Reading. So reading is the subject of the sentence here, which is always a noun, and therefore reading is called as the gerund because it is the ing form of the verb read and it acts as a noun in this sentence. So a gerund which acts as a noun can be placed in different parts of a sentence because a noun can be present in different parts of a sentence. So, the first example, as we have already learnt, is A gerund can be used as a subject of a verb. For example, reading should be a daily habit. What should be the daily habit? Reading. An object of a transitive verb. Reina enjoys reading novels. Reina enjoys what? Reading novels. An object of a preposition. She is good at writing poems. She is good at what? Writing poems. So, writing is the object of the preposition at. A complement. Her favorite pastime is reading. Here, reading is the complement of the verb is. An absolute phrase. Playing puzzles being his pastime, he wastes a lot of time in it. So here, playing puzzles being his pastime is the phrase, and playing is the part of this absolute phrase which acts as a noun. Therefore, it is a gerund. Let's look at some more examples of these gerunds as we have discussed in the table. As a subject of a verb. So first we have said that gerund acts as a subject of a verb. Example, hunting wild animals is prohibited. What is prohibited? Hunting wild animals is prohibited. So hunting is the subject of the verb prohibited, and therefore it is a gerund because it is the ing form of the verb hunt which acts as the noun. Object of a transitive verb. I enjoy playing football. I enjoy what? Playing football. So playing which acts as the object of the transitive verb enjoy is a gerund here. Object of a preposition. The boy was punished for telling a lie. So here telling is a gerund because it is the object of the preposition for. Complement of a verb. My hobby is gardening. My hobby is what? Gardening. So here gardening is the complement of the verb is, and therefore it is a gerund. As an absolute phrase which is independent of the main clause. Playing puzzles being his pastime, he wastes a lot of time on it. So here the main clause, independent clause is he wastes a lot of time on it, and the absolute phrase is playing puzzles being his pastime which acts as a noun and therefore is the gerund. Now we need to be careful when we talk about the non-finite verbs gerunds and participles, because both gerunds and participles end in ing. Both of them are added to a verb with ing, but the only difference is the gerund acts as a noun whereas the participle acts as an adjective. Both are the non-finite verbs. So let's look at this example. Racing is my hobby. What is my hobby? Racing. So racing is the noun here and therefore it is the gerund. I bought a racing car. I bought what type of car? A racing car. So here racing talks about the car. It qualifies the car and therefore it is the adjective. So we have understood that to distinguish between a gerund and a present participle, both ending in ing, we need to check whether it is a noun or an adjective. Is it clear, children? So with this we come to an end of today's class. We will learn about the other two categories of non-finite verbs, that is infinitives and that is both two infinitives, bare infinitives, which we categorize as infinitives, and also participles. Okay, children? Now, you need to revise this today's class, today's topic thoroughly.